Que paso, YouTube? Archman here. Kind of crazy. This one, YouTube's getting like politically correct or something. I actually had to fill out a thing saying that the video is or is not for kids. I guess that means under 18. Uh, that's kind of tough. I kind of try. I like to think that my content is for everyone. Obviously, with just some discretion, you know. I I would say I have a loose tongue, right? But um, I don't know. So yeah, this video is going to be about the EDC. I finally picked one of these up. I have actually turned down a couple of opportunities. I like to chase things without like pulling the trigger on it and just know, fuck me, you know what, man, I fucking probably could have got that shit if I. So like, I think there has been times where I've actually like gone on the on the Fridays that some of the Carothers. Actually, I don't even know if you say it. I'm inclined to say Carothers, but I guess it could be Carothers knives. Carothers. Sorry about the weird. We just rearranged and like I actually had to scooch this table over here because I was like, well, the fucking lighting is better in this part of the living room. My house is like kind of great room style, so it's like kitchen and living room and everything's in one place, but I'm getting a weird shadow coming from, I don't know. Oh, that's my phone. That's the fucking phone. But if I stand here, then it blocks. It doesn't look so shitty if I stand in the shadow of the shadow. Um, but yeah, this is, I would say, I couldn't have done better, honestly. Like, this would be like my perfect Carothers. Carothers? No, it's funny, I've never even thought twice. I would just say Carothers. Carothers. Carothers? Carothers. Damn it. I'll probably just go back and forth. Um, Carothers. Carothers. Yeah, shit. Uh, this is an initial impressions video because I've had this knife for approximately 4 hours, so not very long. I have cut only paper and stuff with it. I did get this knife secondhand um, from a gentleman who apparently owns quite a few of these. I don't know why he would have got rid of this one because if you put 10 different materials in front of me, I would have chosen the burlap, and they're all CPM 3V. This is an EDC2, right? So as far as I know, the differences between EDC 1s and 3s is this one is going to have, versus the EDC 1, it's got quite a bit more belly, right? It would actually, where my thumb is here, it would actually not have that material. And I'm kind of on the fence with that. I understand like the reasons why you would want to have a whole lot of belly on a knife and the reasons why you wouldn't want to have a whole lot of belly on the knife. And I'm just kind of squarely on the fence as far as that goes. I would prefer to have less belly, but it's not the end of the world. I would say my favorite blade shape as far as like the edge goes is going to be something like this, where it's just one continuous sweeping edge. I don't even know what the fuck you call that, but it's that's what I like. I like where it's like I'm gonna use all parts of the edge really pretty much equally, and I'm not gonna be super inclined to put most of my cutting in the belly area, which is what ends which is what ends up happening to me whenever I have a knife with this much belly. Also, another thing that I don't particularly, this could change. I plan on doing several overviews over this knife, through its uses, and I plan on putting this right into rotation of just doing whatever the fuck comes around with it, and pressing it into all kinds of different roles. It's going to be an EDC, is what it's going to be. So we'll see what happens there. So yeah, I find that because like this angle comes in so steep versus, you know, every other knife that I own pretty much, where the tip comes in, you know, at an angle. I'm just going to cut the fuck out of myself at some point doing this video probably, but no, I'm going to try not to. This is easier to sharpen to me than something that has so much going on, because I consider a curve to be a series of flat areas, right? So, oh boy. So, you know, you want to sharpen as perpendicular to the edge as you can when you're sharpening, right? So, like, depending, either any way you slice it, a blade with a lot of curves, slice it, is gonna, it's gonna be more challenging to sharpen. And I'm not really interested in a knife being challenging to sharpen, except for the trade-off of edge retention versus sharpenability. That's a trade-off. But the shape of a blade doesn't necessarily have to be a trade-off, in my opinion. So coming right out of the gate, that's the only negative I would give this knife, having cut basically nothing with it. I've not E, C, or D'd this motherfucker. So it's that is, I know a thing or two about knives. I do, you know what I mean? Yeah. I really like every other aspect of it though. I like the way that Chris Reeve does their knives, the way that Strider, you know, did and it probably still does their grinds, where it's like really nice and thin back here, give you a lot of you know, slicey-ness to it, and then thickens out towards the tip to give you a little bit more robustness to it. I was actually really surprised when I first looked at this thing. That is not thin at the edge. I've only heard these described as like slicey, thin knives. And again, though, I am not a Carothers aficionado. So I really wouldn't know what to say about that. Here in the background is currently, I'm almost ashamed to say, these are my only two other fixed blade knives at the moment. I have been vastly more into folding knives than fixed blade knives, just given that I've experienced a major lifestyle change since, like, you know, Archman's heyday of knife reviewing. Back in the day, like when I was really pumping them out, I mean, my life was pretty wild. You know, I was a full-time guide, full-time outdoorsman, and lived completely off the grid the whole time. So, like, I was using my tools and relying on them much more than your average person would. And not obviously like a Bear Grylls type of shit or anything like that, but yeah, I use my knives. That's all I can say. You know, I currently am a carpenter, and they Carothers knives. That's kind of one of the areas that they market this to: outdoorsman, carpenter. You know, not heavy duty, but not light duty. Everyday carry knife. So that's the role that I'm going to press this into. Um, right out of the box, the most striking impression that I got really is the handle, I would say. Really remarkably comfortable handle. I have extra large hands, so I was concerned with, you know, the reported, whatever it is, 4.2-inch handle on this thing. And so I'm like, oh, fuck, man, you know, like that might be a little on the smaller side. It's pretty ideal. It is not on the smaller, well, it is on the smaller side compared to, like, say, this is a Survive 4.7. Obviously considerably smaller than that, but considerably more sizable than this Lion Steel M1, which we'll kind of incorporate at some point into this overview. I'm pretty pumped about this overview because there's, as far as I can tell, there's one video on the EDC, and this is the EDC2 again. And that is with Nathan, actually kind of a full body, you know, I'm not a cinematographer, but the whole body, you know what I mean? So there's no up close footage of the of the knife. And but what he does with the video is going to be very on the totally other end of the spectrum of what you're going to see in this video, which is just a lot of bullshit, chitter chatter. I plan on mixing myself a drink at some point. It's 11 minutes into it, so apparently that's on the back burner now. But yeah, Merry Christmas, by the way, everybody. It is December 20th. No, it's December 21st, 2019. So yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and set this down. Why not go ahead and set that and also open up my handy dandy, always in the truck, always being bashed into shit on camping trips, Survive 4.7, which is really a fucking great knife. You know, everyone likes to give Survive knives a bunch of shit, but the truth of the matter is, I don't fucking care, man. Like, you know, when you pre-order a knife, you know there's going to be a wait. Everyone knows Survive's reputation. So if you got your fucking panties in a bunch because you've been waiting a year for your Survive, I got no sympathy for you. So I'm going to do a little eggnog while we're doing this video. This is, unfortunately, I had two of these, and one of them broke while I was drying it, so I must have had a little crack in it. But these are some really cool crystal, like highball glasses that a friend of mine, actually a friend of my wife's, gave us for our wedding, and I love these glasses. Love them. I don't know who makes them, but they're just super thin, really nice crystal glasses. And then the spoon, just married. We got this in Amsterdam on our honeymoon. So I am going to take a little bit of the, I'm not a whiskey guy, but some kind of whiskey. And I'm going to pour a healthy dose of whiskey into this glass. So we're going with about this much whiskey. And then I'm gonna go with some Organic Valley eggnog, and I'm going to pour about that much eggnog into the whiskey and splatter it everywhere. Stir quickly before it separates and gets weird. Stir a lot too, I find is important with the eggnog. And we're gonna move this out of the picture. And cheers, everybody. Merry Christmas. Okay. Now my Lion Steel M1 here, I don't know the specs on these knives, to be honest with you guys. Look it up, but everybody knows, it's always different when you get it in hand. This is actually a super sweet little knife, to be honest. This is a perfectly handy and good everyday carry knife for shit less than a third the cost of a Carothers? A Carothers EDC. And this obviously is a fantastic little EDC knife. Comes with a titanium, cool, like knotless bead. They call it their pearl. I guess real quick we'll give you some comparisons. You can see you get a good bit more blade with the Carothers, and quite a bit more handle. So that's going to suit me substantially more. This is a birthday present from my wife. It goes nowhere. And a little bit thicker. And then you're going to have CPM 3V, what is this? M390. I was going to say 20CV. M390, not the most comparable as far as steels go. Both are going to have great edge retention. I've actually carried and used this guy quite a bit. I don't think I've ever, I'm sure I've sharpened it, actually. Surely I've sharpened it. That's gonna go back in its case, and its sheath. I hate this leather sheath. I don't like natural materials, which sucks because fucking man-made materials obviously are bad for our planet. But god damn it, I don't like wood handles. I don't like leather sheaths. I like G10, micarta, carbon fiber for my handle materials. I like powder steel. You know, it's. I'm a bad person. That's all there is to it. It's funny. I've always thought that Survive knives are really sexy and like organic looking. Obviously, not so much compared to the Carothers knives, but man, it's amazing because I think this is a beautiful. It's a sexy knife. It's a great handle. The blade shape and grind is a little plain looking, but man, this is such a great knife, and it actually, you wouldn't think so, but it actually does come to a pretty good, very usable, sharp little point. And I mean, no shit, I have thrown this thing so many times. I have just beat the fuck out of it at camp, out camping, out hiking, just screwing around, and dude, it just laughs it off and asks for more. The 3V steel is no joke. Like, I would not have bought this knife if it had been, really, honestly, probably if it had been anything other than something very comparable to 3V. The handle scales, they actually look pretty comparable here, but they're not that comparable, actually, when you really get it together. I don't, I like when handles have this kind of profile where the end of the butt is the end of the usable grip. And same thing with the forward finger area. God, I'm fucking retarded right now. I don't really love this. I don't know what the point of this, why this would be shaped this way. I don't, other than aesthetically, I can't wrap my mind around why that would be, because yeah, I can't think of why that would be, because when you're holding a knife in your hand and you're using it, it's all about triangulation. So there's pressure here, there's pressure here, and then there's pressure here when you're using a knife, right? It's that, and that's all there is to it. So this will never do anything helpful in any way. There's no way that that angle on this knife does anything helpful. It should not, it's just an aesthetic thing. It's not like necessarily a nick, on it, but it doesn't do anything for me, honestly. But I do think the overall design is super sexy. I mean, it's very appealing. Just the odd handle shape, I think is super cool. I love the like swell out here, but it doesn't kick back up on the sides. There's no great reason for that, like how the Survives are shaped. It's kind of like the womanly figure. No great reason for that. I don't see any really good reason for it. Yeah. What else? Fit and finish, obviously stellar. This one has the titanium fasteners on it, which, hey, why not? Why not choose titanium? As long as it's like 6L4V and not, you know, some kind of like pure titanium. If it's an alloy, it's gonna be really good shit. Eggnog break. So yeah, the primary grind on it, I wouldn't mind if it went up a little higher. It is, there's nothing I could ask for or wish for. I mean, who knows? I'm sure there was all kinds of testing going on, and they chose leaving this flat for some reason other than aesthetics. But it is a little thick at the tip here. I can't get it to focus. I guess I'm just used to my Spydercos, my Chris Reeves, which is primarily what I carry the most, other than the XM18. But that's a pretty obtuse looking grind there, you know. Quite honestly, I'm sure it's completely usable. For me and my uses, just being a guy who totally uses their knives is not just like overly bananas with like, oh God, I farted on it, I gotta resharpen it, you know. Like my knives get sharper than a fucking complete idiot's knife, you know, like when I go to sharpen it. But like I'm not like maintaining them like an obsessive compulsive person, you know. Like I let them go to a working edge, and it's not until I'm like frustrated personally with like, you know, hey, I know what a sharp knife is like, this needs to be sharpened, and then I sharpen the knife. But so that, given that very detailed description, for me, I can already tell you like the major areas of this knife for me that are going to see the most like sharpening and use is going to be like right in here. um, I can already tell you sharpening like this point of the knife, the first like half inch, is going to be such a fucking pain in the balls for the way that I sharpen, which is mostly on a sharp maker and then on a flat stone. Coffee cup, if I'm just feeling sporty, you know, and I'm like away, I'll touch up on a coffee cup quite often. Um, this is a fucking bitch. This whole like area right in here, maybe even 3/4 of an inch. I'm probably gonna just let that go. Like this is gonna be an area that I'm just not gonna sharpen much, because if I did just, I get a dull spot in here and I'm just sharpening the entire area, it's gonna wear the whole thing back, and it's gonna get real obtuse in this area, and I'm not interested in that. You know, I want this thing to be an everyday carry tool used for just a variety of tasks, and then also a a cutting machine in the areas where that's what I want, and cutting, strapping, trimming, knocking down the edge of chamfering boards, stuff like that. Um, that's what this is primarily going to see. Cutting cord, cutting packaging, um, basically just anything you can imagine a carpenter would do. I don't do a lot of handyman work, but I'm kind of open to it. So occasionally I will just go into somebody's house and, make all their doors work better, or, and stuff like that. I will occasionally go in and just do a utility room for somebody, or one closet for somebody. I try to keep it more towards like fancy stuff, like doing built-ins, libraries, kitchen cabinets, stuff like that. Full bathroom remodels, whatever it is. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the where this is going to see its most of its use. This is a, it's funny, like because Carothers, Carothers knives, they're like, they will say straight up like, oh no, our knives are not expensive, these are a value. And it's like, well, this is a $330 fixed blade knife. So, I mean, I'm no like fucking Jim Skelton over here. Like, that's expensive. It just so happens that I am a shit for brains fucking knife snob. So I'll pay that. But at the same time, I'm like, let's not bullshit each other. That is expensive, you know, like, fuck. I mean, 9 out of 10 people would consider a Delica expensive, you know, and this is $70. They're like, dude, that's a fucking awesome knife. And you know what? They're right. This is a fucking expensive and awesome knife. It total. That's all there is. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Um, so yeah, to throw a $330 fixed blade knife, mind you, like no mechanisms, you know, into the mix. You know, I mean, it's not for everybody. It's for me. It is for me because, you know, my fucking my hammer. Again, I'm a carpenter. Is a $250 Martinez. You know, my speed square is a $250 Martinez. I like nice shit. It heightens, it elevates my life experience. You know, using and just getting the data off of using the nice shit. I like it. So, and that's what how anybody who buys something like this is going to be. Or there's going to be some bananas person who accumulates a lot of shit, and I'm fucking that too, obviously. So like, um, you know, I would never fault anybody for that. But just for a couple of size comparisons, which I think is necessary for, you know, this type of video, um, because there's nothing, as far as I know, you got to really dig around where, like, I'm hoping this can be easy for someone just to do a Google search or a YouTube search and get some data off at least this initial video. And then, like I said, here in a month or two, I'll probably post you know, a user viewpoint, user review. I already did the native, but just in case someone's fast forwarded through most of it, which is understandable. Here is a comparison with a native. So the Carothers is like a 3.25-inch blade. The native is a 3-inch blade, and you can see there that handle length. I always consider the native like that to be like the handle length, because my go-to grip is going to be like this, like 9.5 out of 10 times and 19 out of 20 times. But you can see here, not big, but not small either. Again, I have extra large hands. I've not put this through much use, any use really, just some, like I said, some paper cutting. But I am really happy with the feel of the handle so far. That was my number one concern with getting this knife is, whatever it is, 4.25-inch handle, like, that's not very big, you know, so, but I'm happy with it so far. Get the native out of the way. I did kind of quickly put the Delica against it. As far as my knives go, one of the most comparable knives that I feel like I have for it is the 3.5-inch XM18. As far as just like kind of a fatty handle goes, and then not just blade, but usable sharpened edge too. Is right. I actually haven't even held these knives against each other, but as soon as I got it, I was like, oh, this is very much like the size of the XM18. You can see here. Boop. Actually, the XM18 has a considerably more usable handle. Again, like you can see here, like, not that, again, I'm not knocking the EDC, but like that is how you, that's the usable angle for the butt end of a knife to have. This is the opposite of that. That's not that's not usable. I mean, again, it's sexy, sure, but like that's not what they're selling, you know, really. So, yeah, this is how you make the full length of like what takes up space in your life usable. That's the angle. Again, boop. Obviously, you're not really doing much this way, obviously, you know, but upside down, some upside down shit here. Again, it's all about a triangle. Pressure here, pressure here, pressure somewhere in this area. That's where That's where the truth lies. Not again. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, what the fuck is that? Like, yeah, small Sabenza. Do a small Sabenza. Oh shit! I meant to do a large Sabenza or an Nkosi, but my Nkosi's in my man purse, and my large Sabenza is tucked away. Small Sabenza, probably the best EDC knife of all time, in my opinion. And again, I don't know. These knives are damn near the same price. The small Sabenza is $375. These things, fuck, man, you can't actually buy them anyway. So like, what price do you want to put on it? I paid $330 for this with a sheath. I'd say that's close enough for me. One round of beers for your boys difference. That's negligible. So difference between 330 and 375. My God, like I mean, I would say head and shoulders 10 out of 10 times. 10 out of 10 times, I would pick a small Sabenza over this knife. 10 out of 10 times. 20 out of 20 times. 100 out of 100 times. Yeah, small Sabenza, indispensable tool for me and my lifestyle, being a small town, but actually like in town kind of person. In a previous life, I might have said something different. It still would have leaned towards that small Sabenza, but I wouldn't have been like 100 out of 100 times. Again, this is an initial impression. I could totally change my tune. Oops, sorry guys. This review, or not a review, this overview over the EDC would be incomplete without talking about the pants that it comes with. Now, I have mixed feelings on this. First thing out of the gate, I would say is pictures speak 1,000 words, but actually experiencing something is much more than pictures. So we've got a lot of variables here. So right out of the gate, I would say, I don't know. I have a fucking, opinions are like assholes, you know? Everybody's got one and they all stink. I don't know how you could make an uglier sheath than this. It is horrific. I get it's cool, like the whole integral thing. Like there's the front sheet of Kydex and then there's the back sheet of Kydex that actually holds the knife. And then they did this cool like integral thing where they took the back sheet of Kydex, looped it around to become the belt loop. And that is really fun. That's a cool concept and a really cool idea. But it is a really ugly sheath. Again, I would say, I would, I would say maybe figure out some other dimension of a fourth deal and get rid of these screws or these rivets over here and have it like some also taco. Because I mean, you could throw in a fourth layer, and actually, you know what? I bought all this shit to bend Kydex, everything. I bought the foam, bought the fucking dies, and I never fucking did it. I literally never fucking bent it, and I left that foam. I moved, and I literally was like, I'm not fucking taking this foam with me. So I'm a fucking. You're listening to an asshole right now. Little eggnog. Now, where this knife sits on your belt is really good. I actually really like it. Most, if not all of my knives, and again, like damn near every knife that I've ever had, where the knife rides is actually pretty high. You can see like this is where these two knives are going to ride equally, and this much smaller knife, again you can see much smaller, actually rides higher. So like when you go to take this knife out of its sheath, you have to like lift your arm way up and bend the shit out of your elbow and pull the knife, you know, and it's up way up in your shirt and stuff good for being comfortable when you sit down, good for not, you know, being displayed to the entire world and scaring the women and children. Oh my God, that crazy bitch has a knife. Um, Me being the crazy bitch, of course. Uh, but not so good at retrieving the knife from your waist, you know, your area of retrieval. This knife too, again, it doesn't have to be this way. It's just that I like my setups compact and as minimal as possible. So, and I'm also learning. I don't fucking know shit, man. I'm totally learning. But this guy, look how high this shit rides. And again, it's okay, because again, it's not going to scare the women and children. Because look, this guy, the EDC, is going to ride lower and stick out under your, you know, untucked shirt, where this guy is less likely to. But look how high this thing rides. And again, I don't notice it. It's not like an issue. I have carried the shit out of this knife, you know, out camping, hiking, um, screwing around. Look how polished it is and everything. Um, and it's not like it's an issue, but I do really like how this knife carries. And I do really like the, like I said, the integral aspect of the bending of the kydex here. It's cool. Like, look at that. Look how smooth and streamlined that is. Um, but things that I don't really love about it, and again, initial impressions. This is an initial impression. Walking around with this knife on my belt for the last few hours, it is ridiculously comfortable. It is ridiculously tight up against your body. Like this is a dozier sheath, and I could see myself. I immediately was like, "Oh wow, I was wrong. I do like this sheath. Like this is not this is not shitty. This is not like an afterthought thing. They put a lot of thought into this. Um, Retention, amazing, like amazing. 10 out of 10. It is fantastic with the retention. Um, you can see how this loop is contoured with the handle. That's a little bit of a bitch. Like shimmying this thing in and off of your um, belt is kind of a pain in the dick. This is gonna mark up your belt. I would say a fella might want to go in and maybe warm this up, these two sides, these back sides here, and kind of flare this back a little bit. Because getting this thing on off and on your belt is kind of a pain in the balls. It does not want to slide, which is again not great because it's going to mark up your belt. But who knows? Maybe you like that because it's not going to move around on your belt. Like this is going to bite into your belt and not really move around. So it gives with the taking. It takes with the giving. The main aspect for me, again, just being a vain motherfucker, is I would just say I just don't like sheaths. I don't like pancake sheaths. I don't want to see these rivets here. So that's kind of a goofy fucking thing to say, but that's how I feel. I want this sheath compact, small. I want it as minimal as possible. And just from a visual standpoint, I would like to see it just, I don't know, look less tactically. Again, this sheath right here too, I fucking hate this sheath. But everyone who bends kydex for Survive Knives is like, oh yeah, that's $100 sheath. I'm like, fuck you, man. Like for a $2 piece of kydex, you know, and like $50 in materials to bend it. Yeah, you got to think of the design and all that stuff, but I don't know. And I'm a manufacturer. I am a carpenter, and not a cheap carpenter. So like, I get it. You got to charge some, and also it's not like you're. I get it. I mean, it's not like you're banging out, you know, 100 Survive Knives 4.7 sheaths. It's a one of a one that you're gonna make in this month for sure. So, yeah. I'm just fucking talking shit and making a fool out of myself on live YouTube, just as the good Lord intended. Well, that's all I can say about this knife. Only 40 minutes of bullshit. But hopefully somebody got something out of this little initial impressions video. I would say, my overwhelming impression over this knife is, fuck yeah. I'm excited to play with the CPM 3V. I really like the handle. I am stoked to have and get to use Carothers knife. Other considerations for me in the same class, I would say, am I going to keep going? Is going to be Carothers is going to be the Carothers knives, the Survive knives, and then Andy Roy over at Fiddleback Forge has his production line, which I'm like, again though, being a fucking dumb fuck, like the only reason I don't have any one of the Fiddleback Forge knives is the spacing of the screws in the fucking handle. I'm like, why is that middle screw like closer to one? I don't remember which one it is, but it's like they're not evenly spaced. It's like one's here, one's here, one's there. It's like, oh, dude, like it can't be that big of a difference. I mean, it's not like, this thing is like designed to be like a forklift tooth or something like that. Like there's a fucking skid loader, skid steer tooth or something like that. It's like that. What is going on with that? So yeah. Either way, thank you for watching, you guys. Palabra a tu madre. Cheers. Merry Christmas for you guys that are watching in the next few days. The rest of you guys, don't let your meat loaf. All right, how about that? And